Alright, folks, hello and welcome back to Downstage Gaming. I'm your host, Josh, and this is part 26 of our Let's Play of the Ladder. When we last left off here, we had begun our journey with Becca, and just sort of started to get a feel around for things. We started out with her at school at the end of the first day. This is the day that we started with Isabella on as well. And so we got to, experience a little bit of school stuff. We got to see, the kid whose name I forget, who's Hannah's godchild. I'm not sure if that's going to say it anywhere. Anyways, we met her, and then we got a call from Rose that Isabella had some bad things going on at the mansion. Wasn't feeling too hot. We need to come pick her up. We headed to the mansion. We have a sort of scare on the phone that was very similar to what happened with Isabella, which I'm curious about, where, like, she heard a thing that wasn't real, presumably. And then we sort of had a look at Hannah and Luke, who we didn't recognize Hannah as Hannah, which I find a little interesting. And we noticed this sort of, like, evil aura around Luke that really freaked back out. But now we have left the mansion, and we note, as it says here, that it was a useless endeavor in itself. Isabella's no longer there, left shortly before I arrived. Or at least that's what the few staff who saw her assumed. None of them knew where she went, but I can take a few guesses. There are only a number of places in Luxborn she frequents, and, well, she's never been the complex kind. Doesn't really take a genius to figure it out. Still, it's odd she left on her own. She could have at least waited for Miss Cooper. It would have saved her having to pay the cab's fare twice today.
And right after she was told to stay put. I mean, who does that?
What kind of imbecile?
Oh, sod off! You don't own the road!
In the end, all Miss Cooper could give me were a string of apologies for my trouble and a request to let her know when I find Isabella. Alright, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about how pissed off Becca seemed this evening at the movie. The whole affair didn't even last long. I probably spent more time traveling back and forth. Soon enough, I'm weaving my way back to downtown Luxborn, worried sick, and on top of that, maybe a little annoyed. Whether at the unexpected turn of events or at Isabella herself, I'd rather not think about it for now. Not when I'm already running late for Zachary's film. Besides, I'm perfectly sure that's where I'll find her. And you were right. As one would expect, people are already gathered at the movie house when I get to it. The small avenue where it's... See, I do want to... Yeah, nothing on here says... Does that say... Bat? Oh, it's Batcat! It's Batcat! I thought it's a bait cat. Yeah, it doesn't say the name of a Zax movie anywhere on here. The small avenue where it's located has been closed off early from any passing traffic to make way for the avid moviegoers who are sure to crowd the venue. I have to park almost a street away and walk the remaining distance because of it. Looking for them has taken a while in a crowd this big, but I eventually spot them near the entrance. Thanks to Zachary, mostly. And like I've surmised, Isabella's with them.
I knew it.
Wasting no time, I march over to their little group. Words filled with concern tumble out of my mouth before I can stop myself.
Isabella! Oh, thank goodness. Becca, you're just in time.
An odd expression crosses her face as I hold it with both hands, but I ignore it in favor of getting a good look at her, forcing her to keep still and fix her gaze at me.
Becca, you're squishing my face. How are you? Are you all right? Why wouldn't I be?
There doesn't seem to be any visible injury, nor does she appear to be in pain. Apart from her confused frown at my questions, she looks pretty much like how she would any other day. Even so, you can't really tell those things with her at first glance. The last time she got sick, she never bothered to call anyone, even me, who lives right next door. If I hadn't checked on her then, she probably would have died on her bed with the rest of us none the wiser. I mean, must have been a pretty bad sickness then. It's one thing we laugh about now, but moments like those also teaches you something about a person. If anything, it has given me more reason to constantly worry about her. Yeah, I do worry that for as much as these two seem to care about her, this is not the healthiest relationship. And the moment a familiar name comes up, I know my concerns right now aren't completely baseless.
Rose called me earlier.
Her expression swiftly changes, and gently as she can, Isabella pushes my hands away, yet even before she says anything, I already have a hunch how this whole thing will play out.
Oh, no, everything's good. Rose covered for me at work today. That's not what I'm talking about. How's your head?
Then and there, the whole conversation goes down as I've imagined. She dodges my hand when I reach for the back of her head, intending to check the said injury myself, even makes a show of hiding behind Zachary just to avoid me. Poor Zach. Instantly, what's supposed to be a simple inquiry dissolves into a shameless game of tag. Shouting and chasing like none of us can be bothered to act like the full-grown adults we're all supposed to be. Including Ashton. I won't put it past Isabella, but Ash, out of everyone? In fact, that stupid smirk on his face tells me anything. He finds this whole mess amusing. Oh, for the love of...
Isabella, this isn't a laughing matter.
She did look pale when I saw her.
Wow, thanks a lot, Ashton, you traitor. I'll get you back for this. Just you wait.
What? I'm just saying it as it is. If you mentioned this earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
There's a moment's pause. My hand's still midair as my attention shifts to Ashton and the words he leaves hanging between the four of us. He doesn't meet my eye. I don't think he's even aware of what he said. But the meaning in each syllable alone is clear. And they echo. They sting. They burn.
I'm sorry. Saw her?
Yeah, they arrived together. Bella looked fine to me then. I don't know.
Oh, you poor jealous fool, Becca. Of course. Of course! Why else would Isabella leave on her own after being told to stay put after that little chat about money this morning? Something close to silence falls while I mull over their words, but what's already been said and what's left unspoken. When I do find my voice, it only reeks with nothing but bitter, unpleasant thoughts. Thoughts I quickly stamp out before they surface. Thoughts I hide the best I can in the deepest parts of my mind, locking it away for no one to see.
Oh, that's good. At least she didn't have to travel alone, right? At least.
I give
Good.
this performance a 2 out of 10 in convincing. Yet try as I might, the green-eyed monster easily rears its ugly head. Like it always does every time his gaze lingers a second longer. Every time he smiles in a manner far too gentle, far too sincere, whenever he thinks no one can see. Every time my mind suggests his words mean more than they should. Every small little thing. Despite what he says, despite his tone...
Look, you guys.
For all I know, it may just be the same kind of fondness born from friendship. It isn't. Maybe I'm simply overthinking, like he often tells me. You're not. Or maybe there really is something there. But in his short display of impatience, I know the whole thing of it is just for show. After all, growing up together with him didn't teach me nothing about him. For whose sake is it this time, though? For him? For Zachary? For her? Or for me? That I can't tell.
If she says she's okay, then there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like we can stop her either. Besides, she's still acting like the same old Isabella to me. If she can still run around like that.
Why are you taking her side?
I'm not. But if she wants to watch Zach's movie with us, I'm not going to stop her. She's probably the one looking forward to it the most.
I like that they're showing me this scene from Becca's perspective. As though, like, when it was from Isabella's perspective, I was completely blind to the fact that Becca was very into Ash.
Ash, that's... You, of all people, should know...
Tell you what, if I notice something amiss with her, I'll take her to the nearest hospital myself.
Because I'm in love with her.
Is that good enough for you?
My mouth opens, then snaps shut almost as quickly, forming a thin, hard line instead. I can't respond. Not because there's nothing to say. On the contrary, there's plenty. So many things I can use to reason and get him to agree. But because he speaks with much certainty, with much reassurance, it feels like there isn't even a choice. All I can give is a long, deep breath and a reluctant nod in the face of it. Before I can get a grip of myself, my own weakness, the mood immediately shifts, and I'm being tackled into a hug.
Thanks, Becca. It's always been you with him, isn't it?
Yeah, see, it's the fact that you say these things out loud that really gives you the clue, huh?
Did you say something?
Nah.
Me? Nothing. Don't mind me.
A lie, obviously. What else can it be? Each and every smile, a tiny effort to keep things as they are, or so I tell myself. Little do I know, this is merely a preamble. It starts out quietly and without fanfare, amidst friendly jibes and harmless teasing, with a scrap of paper fluttering harmlessly to the ground. One that looks suspiciously like a cheap Halloween prank, no matter how you look at it. And I think part of it is. I think the last part is. Yet despite how ludicrous it all is, Isabella stubbornly insists, as if our whole life depends on acknowledging the truth in her story. Does she even realize how absurd she sounds now? Crevens, even my students wouldn't fall for this.
Isabella, aren't you taking this a bit too far?
She doesn't give me time to regret nor think over my choice of words. From there, it escalates, grows into an argument too petty even for our standards as adults. Before we know it, one after another, harsh, scathing words are being spoken.
It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me.
I, as the narrator, can confirm that this is true.
If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have.
Right. And in broad daylight, Isabella. Even someone gullible would find the logic in that screwed up.
There's also no way in hell that this supernatural shit is true.
Yeah, we'll see how you feel in a week, Ash.
But it's real! What do you think I saw?
A hallucination? A delusion? Didn't you say you fell down some stairs? So maybe Rebecca's right.
It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
This does still make me wonder, though, with the knowledge that I have now, if it is the act of showing the letter that puts them in danger, or if it's just the fact that their relationships and circumstances all bring them close to the house and the people who are primarily haunted, which I think are Hannah and Luke, especially, but I'm not sure. But someone has to be patient in all this, and however much my own has already been frayed earlier, there's no one else. Who else here can deal with someone selfishly acting like a kid? Like every other time, it has to be me.
We are, and you know that. But this thing and that thing has got nothing to do with the other. When Rose called earlier, I thought she's just exaggerating. But based on what I'm seeing right now, maybe it's better if we really postpone this for now.
Don't bother.
Just like that, she cuts us off, slams the door right in our faces while my own temper flares before I can stop it, although it falters briefly at the hard expression on her when she snatches the blasted paper from Ashton. I hold on to it. Regardless of how upset she appears, soured expression and balled fist, throwing a tantrum is simply unacceptable. For a grown woman at that. There's parts of Becca that remind me of, like, especially, like, early Hermione in Harry Potter. But before I can open my mouth and let all of it out, her feelings and mistakes be damned, Zachary raises a voice of his own. A warning underneath the warm and hopeful beat in its voice. We all stop and look at him, and even my own anger subsides a little at his tone.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her. And hey, ain't this supposed to be a happy get-together?
Aren't we supposed to watch my movie? To an outsider, it may sound like a desperate request, but Zachary's always been one to keep a level head over petty squabbles. This time's no different. He knows what to say, and when he lets it fall, they only ring sharp and true.
We haven't seen each other for months. I'd really love to know what y'all have been up to. I only ever get to talk to Bella over chat. Please.
And as careful as he is with his own tone, it does make me feel ashamed. We're supposed to be here for him, to give what little support we can give, yet here he is, trying to keep three stubborn people from outright hashing it out in public. Later, we can and will talk about it, of course. There's a proper time and place for it, and at the moment, my anger and whatever reprimands it carries no longer matter. Beside me, Ashton appears to have already caught on. The lines of his shoulders ease to something much more relaxed, his expression back to his usual nonchalance. Isabella, however, she stands perfectly still, her hands clasping the straps of her bag like a lifeline, eyes trained at some point near her shoes. There's no anger in her face, only an undeniable hurt. But she's never been good at hiding what she thinks, always the open book, always the one to wear her heart out in the open. And when she looks up, her answer is also as simple.
If we keep arguing here, we're going to miss the first few minutes.
Her lips are curled up in a smile, though lacking both its usual brightness and glee. It's a smile nonetheless. I've seen it countless of times. It's the very same one she would show when she knows she has no other choice, or simply when things get tough for her. But despite everything I already know about her, it still catches me off guard. Like, anybody who ever does anything bad to Isabella, I immediately dislike. Isabella is definitely my most liked character of all of these people. Zach, probably number 2. In all honesty, I expected her to run, to balk at the first sign of losing this time. I won't even be surprised. At 26, she is the youngest among the rest of us. Less experienced, less accustomed to dealing with trivial quarrels like this. Yeah, a 26-year-old doesn't know jack. Yet here she is, holding herself and coping with it like how she would with matters concerning her family. Outside of that, to me, she's always been this childish, naive girl, and watching the opposite play out right now, somehow I find it difficult to wrap my head around it.
All right, that's the Isabella I know.
Oh, good. I thought for sure you were going to cry.
But I envy her.
What was that for?
Stop calling me a crybaby. I'm not one.
Oh, don't cry.
Stop it.
I envy her spirit, her warmth, her cheer, the shine in her eyes when she looks at the world, how everything seems to simply fall back to a pleasant, lively rhythm with her around. How easily and tightly she fits into our lives, even without bonds only long years could forge, like a lost piece of a puzzle despite her jagged edges. How she draws people to her with ease, how Ashton, of all people, can be drawn to her.
Okay, scaredy cat then.
That too. If you repeat that, I swear I'll...
Let's just go.
I make no effort keeping the bitterness from my tone. I let it seep, linger stiffly into the air as I avert my gaze from them. Okay, alright, so maybe the jealousy goes even further than just Ashton. That's interesting. From their playful banter, their friendly teasing remarks, and Ashton's tender, affectionate smiles, all before the stabbing aches in my heart change into something too painful to bear. It's all in my head, is what I'd often tell myself. Yet the way my heart rends at just the sight of them hurts. And like a coward, I walk away from all of it, taking with me a small hope the movie will distract me away from these thoughts. Because, like this, it's easy to find something to hate in her. Whew. Drama. Dusk is already given way tonight when we leave the film fest. Unfortunately, it does nothing to improve my mood like I'm hoping. Neither does the muggy air that greets us upon stepping back into the noisy streets. Too busy. Too loud. Too many people taking what little space the sidewalk offers. It forces anyone to bump shoulders with those they barely know, let alone care about. On a normal evening, I probably wouldn't have minded the crowd, nor the humid weather. It's not like any of them are bothering anyone. And yet, even with what's admittedly a pleasant company, I can't bring myself to lighten up.
See you guys some other time.
See you, Zach.
Yeah. See ya.
Not even to return the smiles Ashton and Zachary gave us when we go our separate ways. Oh, this will be a fun ride home, huh? Perhaps this started with Miss Cooper's call, or earlier than that. Maybe even the moment I left bed this morning. Bloody hell, could have been because of that sodding letter, for all I know. I couldn't care less at this point. All I want is to get a warm bath, sleep, and wait for this dreadful day to end. Now, if only Isabella would stop babbling, then maybe this dull throbbing at the side of my head won't turn into a full-blown headache, too.
Zach did a pretty good job with his movie, didn't he? Even though Ash said he ran into some trouble late into filming.
Really? Because it seemed like you didn't watch it, Belle.
But I knew he had it in him. It's not like I didn't believe he couldn't do it. I mean, did you see his face after the credits rolled? All those months he worked on this, and everything's finally...
You weren't even watching.
I mean, it's fair. It's a fair criticism.
Only the first minutes. I watched the rest of it, I swear. Besides, Ashton was the one who wouldn't stop asking questions.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, Belle.
Well, why do we still need to talk about this then? I liked it. Ash liked it. You liked it.
God, you know, for someone for someone who is criticizing Isabella of being an open book, you're not exactly closed tight yourself here, Rebecca.
Shouldn't you be telling that to Zachary in person? I'm sure he'll appreciate it better than I ever will.
Because frankly, I'm not sure I appreciate anything about you.
I know that, but maybe there's something you want to say? Zach had you check the scripts before he went through everything, didn't he? You also worked on it, even if it was only for a short time. So, maybe you want to...
I don't bother waiting for the rest. The moment I spot my car, I immediately make a quick beeline for it. Knowing her, this is merely another attempt at starting a conversation, just so we'll have something to fill the dead air, to replace the strained atmosphere we've somehow walked into. One thing, the very thing, I'm not too keen to deal with at present. Behind me, Isabella also changes her pace to match mine, her soft strides growing brisk and uneven in order to catch up. A small part of me half expects she'll suddenly trip. She's not the clumsy sort, but there are definitely times when she can be the least coordinated person on the planet.
Becca, hey! Oh no. Wait for me!
And people wonder why I worry. They're not really completely unfounded once you've already grown familiar with her habits. Though right now, this is also at the very end of the list of things I want to think about. God, Becca, I mean, I get it to a certain point, but you're being kind of a dick. Sometimes it does become overbearing. Even her voice as she calls after me sounds nothing more than background noise to my ears now.
Rebecca, slow down, will you? Your car's not going to leave without us.
The sooner we get on the road, the earlier we can get home. It's Friday, in case you didn't notice.
I know what day it is, but the traffic's not going to magically disappear, even if we go there right now.
I don't want to hear that from you. Didn't you used to complain how horrendous the traffic is back home for you?
Yeah? But that doesn't have anything to do with this, Becca.
Okay. What do you want to do then? Wait it out? Walk? I just want to go home, Isabella.
Yeah, I've been in this exact scenario where, like, after, you know, a day of hanging out with the group and you're stuck with the one person who, for whatever reason, is in this terrible mood and you're just trying to make it better and they just won't have it. It's not fun.
If you want to stay out here longer, I won't stop you. But leave me out of it. I'm not up for any other foolish excursions tonight.
Come on, just one foolish excursion.
I wasn't thinking about an excursion. I want to go home too. It's already late. It's just that you've been in this prickly mood since earlier. Are you really okay? Was it the cold? Or did something happen at school? Do you want to talk about it?
A long pause follows, and it holds everything she's been meaning to ask from the very start. I'm in no mood, but all the same, my hand stops short of unlocking my car, and my grip on the handle tightens. I can feel her eyes boring on me, waiting, hoping patiently for any answers I'd give. She's the same as Zachary. They're bad liars. But when you talk to people like them, if you're not careful, they often leave you with no other choice but to admit the truth. Those exact same ones I can't voice. Despite my lack of response, she pushes on, surprisingly. You know, telling the truth here would probably help a lot, Becca. I'm just saying. It would probably, you know, you'd have to deal with some awkward stuff, sure, but then you'd be able to move past it. This time, her tone is quieter, more tentative than usual.
Was it because of the letter?
Oh, that's the wrong thing to say, Val. It's a well-meaning question, much like the rest of this talk, yet something in how she says it irks me.
If it is, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I did see something in the mansion, though. I wasn't lying about that.
Wherever she wants to take this, I no longer want to hear a word of it. Not at this minute, preferably never. Especially when there are already a million other things buzzing and prodding inside my head. Sometimes my patience can only be tried for so long. This is an interesting choice. Because you know, obviously I don't like how pissy she's being with Isabella. But I also feel like being honest is the better call here. Like, this is just a lie. I think she has to be honest. Just, I'm not in the mood to talk. Like, maybe another time, but tonight is not the night I want to talk about this.
And during the open house, even if there were a lot of people around, there were weird things happening.
No, I'm sorry, Isabella. She's probably gonna say this a lot meaner than I would have intended, but
I don't know if there was anyone else who noticed, but I heard things. I'm sure it wasn't because I fell down the stairs. Even before that, in the attic, Will
you give the sorting letter a rest already?
See, this is not where I wanted to go with this. The effect is immediate. Abruptly, Isabella clamps her mouth shut. Hurt flickers across her face as she looks away, and her shoulders droop, all before the thought of holding back on my tone or how she'll take the every word crosses my mind. When the realization does hit after, a twinge of guilt washes over me at once. But with all that has already been said and done, what am I supposed to tell her then? That I'm someone who can be so easily unsettled by my own assumptions? That this stupid sulk has been brought upon me by some equally stupid jealousy? That the simple glimpse of her and my childhood friend together infuriates a part of me? Or that I wish I'd been in her place during those times instead? True or not, I owe her neither of those, and if anything, she's the last person I want to know about.
Look here. I'm not in the mood for this kind of talk tonight. My head is aching and I'm tired. I don't want to hear about the dumb letter, or the mansion, or whatever it was you saw in the bloody attic. Just get in the car and we're going home.
Like, I really am torn here, because I do have real sympathy for Becca's position, but she's just handling it so poorly.
Sorry. I won't mention it again.
If you're so worried about it, why don't you just throw the blasted thing away?
I mean, here's some actually good advice.
You make it sound so easy.
It seems like it'd be pretty easy, Isabella.
Because it is. Here, hand it over, and I'll do it for you. Might as well shred it up while we're at it.
I hold a hand out to her, though the gesture is without any expectations. She's nothing if not stubborn, and it isn't surprising when she turns the offer down with a swat of her hand.
Rebecca, just leave it alone, okay? I get it. You don't want anything to do with it.
Good. I hope that settles it.
Yeah, just forget I mentioned anything. I'll figure it out myself.
That makes me stop again. This time, I turn to look at her, searching her face for an explanation. But all she offers me is a sidelong glance and another one of those pained looks before climbing in the passenger seat and closing the door behind her. Somehow, even with the steady din of traffic around us, the sound of that feels heavier, weighted with everything we refuse to utter tonight. This is what I want, isn't it? It certainly doesn't feel like it. Thankfully, if there's anything left to be spoken between us after, we won't have to discuss it on the way home. Or rather, we can't. Because no sooner than we hit the road, Isabella dozes off. Well, of course! If you're just gonna sit there in silence, she might as well sleep. Despite my foul mood, I still end up suppressing a laughter once the first sounds of her breathing filled the car.
Not your mom, Isabella.
Slow and steady, the quiet rhythm so completely unlike her, so far removed from every impression anyone has of her. A few faint whimpers will occasionally come from her, but otherwise it's just us, this silence. And it's so utterly unexpected. Still a welcome break, of course. Peace and quiet is one thing you'll rarely get with her around. Yet it's nowhere near comforting. It merely lends the air this strange clarity, every little sound, every single movement more palpable. And with it comes the unease. A jolt of surprise hits me. It's almost comical if this were a different situation. In my haste, I accidentally dislodge my mobile from its seat in the dashboard when I swipe on the screen. Soon I'm scrambling blindly for it with my other hand while keeping a steady eye on the road ahead. A voice... Oh, I don't like this. A voice crackles from the loudspeakers before I can put it back. Although muffled heavily by the surface, I recognize the person on the other line from her chipper tone alone.
Hello? Miss Cooper?
Oh, you're still awake. Evening. I hope I didn't disturb you or anything. I know it's a bit late. Sorry about that. I just want to check on you and Isabella. That girl's still not answering her mobile.
Jeez, you... like, give Rose the Coworker of the Year award. Jesus.
Were you able to meet up with her?
Yes. She's with me. We're on our way home.
Hello? What was that again? I can't hear you properly.
You say I should go to the attic in the mansion for no reason whatsoever? Alright.
Sorry. Let me just fix this dumb phone.
Yeah. My hand stops dead for a moment. I spare the device a brief glance, waiting. Seconds pass. Nothing happens, though. Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but the lines of my mouth forms into a frown regardless.
Miss Cooper?
Yes, still here.
Did you say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you could help me out. I'm really hungry. If you could, like, just bring me something.
Just that I didn't get the last part. What were you saying again?
No, I thought you... Never mind. Must be the signal acting up.
This ghoul has some phone hacking capabilities, I'm trying to tell ya.
Coming in?
What?
Is everything all right
This is
over
the
there?
worst phone call.
Certainly. Is something wrong? What wouldn't? Okay, you seem to be busy. If this is a good time, I can just call you back some,
This is a really good, like, phone disconnecting, like, this is good. I have to make a conscious effort not to panic right then and there, although my tight hold on the steering wheel tells a different story
Miss
altogether.
Cooper? Rose? Hey, Rose! Are you still there?
Only a burst of static answers me, and maybe this lapse is entirely because of exhaustion. It has been a long day, and I haven't fully recovered from last week's bout of flu, contrary to what I've been telling people. Though perhaps had I paid closer attention to it, had I not been so occupied with other thoughts, I probably would have noticed earlier that it never came from my phone, but from somewhere right behind me. And it is interesting that it does kind of sound like Rose's voice, though. Time slows to a crawl. Looking up is a mistake. The first thing I see is its face, a ghastly shade, every inch battered, bruised, and bloodied. Even in the darkness, and the world passing by in a blur of light outside, I can still make out the wounds. Blood still oozes from it, little trails of crimson running down its face, glistening under what little light there is. But it is the gleam in its eyes that catches mine. The quiet plea, the anguish, and the desperation in them, more than its hideous features and the awful stench of gore now soaking the air. And try as I might, I can't bring myself to look away, even as its lips contort into a horrific smile. Even as a sharp, harsh noise pierces the air and the silence around us.
Becca! Huh? Car! Eyes on the road!
Against everything I've been taught, and I've constantly reminded myself, I close my eyes. It's a brief moment. A short, vivid second of muscle memory and instinct completely taking over. And if I didn't allow it, if my hands didn't move, or my feet didn't hit the brakes in that exact second, I might have... Isabella and I might have... No. I shake the notion away before I lose myself in it. Right now, it's an ugly line of thought I refuse to venture into. Not when breathing is a struggle and every ounce of strength has been totally drained from my body. Most definitely not while Isabella's panicked voice beside me still rings in my ears. We are alive. We are safe. That's all that matters. But it's not her face that I look for when I finally open my eyes. It's all gone. I expected stains, little telling marks and creases on the covers to show me where it sat not a second ago. But whoever, whatever it is, it's left not a single trace. And though courage is a hard thing to gather at this point, I take what little of it remains in me and turn towards the back seat. Even then, there's none. Or was there really something in there in the first place? With how empty it is, I'm beginning to doubt it. This stupid flu again.
I need a long rest after this.
Dayquil-inspired hallucinations. My hands fall uselessly to my sides, numb from how taut my grip on the wheel has gone, yet still trembling from the unexpected rush of adrenaline. Against my ears, my heart still pounds an erratic rhythm, and my breathing hasn't slowed down. But the world has already righted itself without waiting for me, and little by little, second after second, as I sit here motionless, color begins to seep back around me. Along with it are the sounds and a voice, no longer the indistinct ringing it was earlier.
Becca! Are you okay? Answer me, will you? You're scaring me.
Yeah,
You know
no.
what? I think we should just call a taxi since...
No, I'm all good.
Can you keep it down?
Oh god, Becca, come on. Strain, harsh, and completely unintentional. But with heat prickling at the back of my eyes and the mouth throbbing at my temple, I could honestly do with a little silence for now. Given the fact that you nearly killed her, I think she has a right to speak up, Becca.
Keep it down? We almost crashed, Becca.
I know what happened. It was a lapse. I'm sorry.
A lapse. You call that a lapse? Becca, I really don't want to end up a mangled mess on the side of the road. Or a mangled mess anywhere. All I'm asking, if the time ever comes, which I hope isn't right now, is a peaceful death. Give that one to me at least. Not that I'm asking for it, but please.
Isabella. Belle, you're overreacting.
I don't know that she is.
If you're so worried, why don't you drive?
Might be a good idea.
A license.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
never
keep
mind that.
telling you to get one, didn't I? For the past 5 years. Do you see why now?
I wasn't really expecting
How
to stay
is-
here this long. I thought it'd just be for a year or two.
And also, it's not Isabella's fault that you're... I mean, I get that it's also kind of not your fault, but come on. All of a sudden, a pensive mood comes over her. Isabella looks away then, while what's left of my lecture never crosses the tip of my tongue. I don't allow it to. Because in each of those words she let loose earlier is a small truth. Her stay has always been meant to be something fleeting. Earn some good money, go home. It's what she'd tell herself during her first year here. Now, half a decade later, I'm not sure if she still believes that. Even I'm not sure if I still believe it. And if there's something in her reasons that has changed along the way, even if I already have a hunch, it's one thing I'll never bother to ask. Those are hers to keep.
I'll be careful this time, I promise. Just please. Can we give this whole thing a rest for now?
She nods, and that is the end of it. We spend the rest of the trip back to Salamwell in silence. All thoughts of an overactive imagination playing tricks on a flu-addled mind, and of smiles never meant for my eyes, abandoned, if only for a brief moment. Alright, well, let's take a look at our picture, and then I think that's going to do it for today. Got a lot going on the 21st now. A lot of pictures. Oh, for it! Oh, look at this face! Come on, Becca. Alright, well, maybe we will get a chance next time to start repairing our broken relationship with Isabella, but we'll have to see. Until then, this has been Downstage Gaming. I've been your host, Josh, and I will see you next time.